I'm really grateful for your guys' show. But I was listening to something you guys were discussing, two-house theology, and you said that the split between the North and South was not from God. But I did want to ask you about in 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 26 through 40. It seems that God is ordaining Jeroboam to be king of the North. In 12:24, God says, he tells the southern kingdom not to war against the northern kingdom in order to bring them back, because that thing is from him. And in 14:7, when a word of prophecy is given to Jeroboam's wife, the Lord does say that he was the one that gave Jeroboam the northern kingdom. So I guess I was wondering if you guys had answered those kind of questions
we have
in
not.
a later show that I haven't gotten to yet, or what, but you guys could answer this. I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll answer this because I'm the one who actually made that comment. And admittedly, my choice of words was definitely wrong. When I say that it wasn't from God, what I mean is that God's original plan was not to have one nation split into two to make two nations. Obviously God is sovereign. He ordains all things. He knew that it would happen, but it was done because of sin. In other words, God's plan is to have one nation. That nation is Israel. It's not Israel and Judah. It's Israel. And that nation, and how do we know this? We see this in Jeremiah 31:31 and following, right? The new covenant is given to the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And then all of a sudden, once it's given, where's Judah? Judah disappears. Why is that? Because the two under the new covenant are reunited, and there is no more Israel and Judah. It's just one nation. So my point in saying that it was not of God, certainly God split the nation into two. Certainly God ordained that. Certainly God is the one who did that because of Israel's sin. There's no doubt about that. And Christopher here in this comment is absolutely right. And so my wording was not correct. My point is that what God's structure was for there to be one nation, and that nation was Israel. And it was only because of Israel's sin that it was split into two nations. And now, once the new covenant comes in, once Israel comes to a faith in the risen Messiah and accepts the risen Messiah, and Paul talks about that day as, and then all Israel will be saved under the new covenant, there is no more Israel and Judah. It's all one more nation. It's all one nation again. And so my point in saying that it was not of God is that that is not the structure that was meant to be set up. The structure was supposed to be one nation that was unified under God's command, under God's instruction, and in one covenant faith towards God. That's my point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying.
And in the chat room, it doesn't matter. That's a perfect description of two house. It's a wind of doctrine that distracts from Yeshua. That is absolutely right.
Well, what do you tell people who are saying, well, I'm reading the Old Testament or Tanakh, and there's all these promises, like the promise of the Brit Hadashah. It says to Judah and to Israel.
Right.
Why are they listed separately?
That's a great question, and I have multiple answers for this. But ultimately,
so one answer though is that I think that kind of basic question leads people to, right? They start thinking, oh, there's a lost part of this. Half of this group is lost, and the other half is not.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, ultimately, when we're talking about the prophets and the prophets looking at the time that they're in, Israel and Judah are separated. They're talking to, once again, going back to what's happening in that time frame, they're talking to Israel and Judah. They're speaking about their situation. So obviously they're going to talk about Israel and Judah. Beyond that, the promise is given to all of Israel, which is Israel and Judah. So obviously the promises have to be given to Israel and Judah. If you, in the time frame that they're talking in, if you just say to Israel, then you're excluding the southern tribes. Because in their time frame, Israel and Judah are separated. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button and check out more videos from Messiah Matters.